So those experiences, how do they translate to being a father? What did you take from that you brought to fatherhood?
That's a question I didn't expect.
Because you were very much a father figure
Oh, I
to a
know.
lot of kids.
I know. Well, I took the notion of being a teacher in so much earnestness that the day often began before school began. The lunch was school. After school was school. And for some kids, I knew that their dads maybe weren't present in their life. And sometimes even Mr. Bobo would come to me and say, hey, this kid doesn't have a dad around, and I'm putting him in your room or her in your room because they're missing a male figure. The conditions kids had in their life when they came to me, I couldn't really change those. But what I could give to them in the 6 hours that we spent together is that I believed in them. I saw the potential in them. And whatever those other circumstances may have been, or whatever insecurities they had about being in a social setting, we could help to alleviate those. So we created a level playing field, a respect, and somehow the kids got lifted up. You just kind of started seeing themselves in a way that I'm capable. I'm successful. My teacher tells me I'm a good person.
I kind of grew up without a dad present, and he wasn't like my dad. I didn't think of him as a dad, but I felt him as a trusted male adult who was like a protector, someone that I could always trust and rely on.
He met a lot of our needs. We had, I think we realized as adults, we had a lot of issues going on, not just elementary school issues, but a lot of us were, going through broken homes, really bad situations at home. And we needed a safe place to come and feel good, and it was a place where we actually, I think, could get away from some of the things that we were feeling at home.
Doesn't it surprise you that such a young man had that much knowledge?
Yes, and I think he's truly a kind man. He's always has been. We thought he was smart, but we just really also knew that he treated us just the way he treated any other person, and we all knew that he cared deeply for us, and it was very mutual. We all wanted his approval, and I think we got it.
Just always don't disappoint yourself, but almost as importantly, don't disappoint Terry.
If you're not going to do it for yourself, at least do it for him.
Terry was real special to me. I was in 6th grade and had some tough times in previous years adjusting and getting to know everybody, and he helped me get through that, and I think helped me to go to the next level as far as 7th grade and junior high, and I really have a lot of admiration for him and for the support and guidance that he gave me. I think I can name on one hand the teachers I've had in my life that I've had a connection with, and Terry was definitely one of those teachers at that age that at any age really through college that I remember that had an impact on my life. So thank you, Terry.
Well, he's a great male role model for me because my parents were divorced, and I still lived in the same town as my dad, but he was a really good influence for a male teacher. And he really provided us all a really solid foundation in education, and it's hard. I don't think I ever really enjoyed school again until I was at graduate school here at CGU.
It was really hard for me to be away, but it was also hard just to be away from Terry's class because it was a really warm environment where you felt totally accepted, totally loved. And what I was telling Terry last night was that he was really the only adult I had ever met that talked to me with total respect, like my opinion mattered, and that I was an intelligent person that had a voice that should be heard. And I never had experienced that. He treated us as equals. He never talked down to us. And he just encouraged us to grow and pursue our own interests without any judgment, and he never let anyone else judge each other. And if there was a problem, he just dealt with it directly. There was never any BS about skirting around the issue or pretending something didn't happen. He would just automatically go for the gusto and say, you know, here's the situation, you know, and ask people, you know, what do you think we should do, and how do you think we could do something differently? And it was just like life lessons in 1 year. And as a result, the class became so close. And we were such a great group together, even though we were all, you know, very different as any group of people would be. But we all respected each other and learned a lot from each other. Even people that I think, when we first started the class, you know, like, oh, I'm not going to talk to that girl because she's kind of weird, or that guy's kind of strange, I don't want to talk to him. But in the end, we were all friends. And one of the things that Terry had said to me in a parent-teacher conference, to my mother actually, was that, oh, well, Rosalind does just enough to get by. She doesn't really apply herself. You know, she does well, but she could do better. And those words have lived with me forever. You know, I'm almost 43, and I still hear those words sometimes from Terry that, you know, you're not trying hard enough, Rosalind. You know, you could do better. You're just kind of being lackadaisical about this.
You know,
But the other
I remember going in on weekends and constructing the secure loft so the kids would be safe. But to me, it was all about, I wanted kids to be so in the moment of comfort around reading, that there was a culture that we were creating. When it was reading time, you needed to be reading. And that's because it was so good. And I wanted you to drift away with your imagination. I wanted you to read with fervor. And I remember when it was time for me to read at the end of the day, you know, it was 2:40 and school was going to be out at 3:10. And that was a signal that it was time for me to take out a book and I'd read to the classroom. And the requirements were the same. You could do anything at your desk so long as it didn't keep anybody else from listening. And I don't know if you remember it, but students would be coming back from El Roble, you know, as 7th graders, and they would enter the room silently. They would find a spot, and they would just sit and listen. And, you know, sometimes there were 2 or 3, and sometimes there were 10 7th graders who were in the room for the last half hour, 20 minutes of the day, just being part of that, I don't know, some kind of culture that said, I'm respected here, and I'm safe here, and I still know some of my friends who are a grade younger, and it's good to come back.
My name is Taninia Hekimara.
And you were a room 1 kid?
I was a room 1 kid. I still am.
Do you feel that more than ever since you've gone back to this reunion?
I have, and it's come up a lot in my life. And every time I talk about it, I light up, and people are amazed that I can remember 5th grade and that I have such fond memories of 5th and 6th grade. And it was probably the highlight of my school years.
That's great. Anything special stand out in your mind about your experience here?
The thing that I remember the most and that I'm most fond of is when Terry would read The Hobbit. And he read the entire book, and then he read Lord of the Rings. And he had this area in his classroom where he had just a comfortable area. And he would just read to us. And I remember being able to close my eyes and really get into the story and enjoy it. And then when they started doing the Lord of the Rings, the big production, I remember telling my kids, oh my God, my 5th grade, you know, teacher read these books to us, and my kids are looking at me like, that's kind of weird. And I was like, I remember this with fondness. I remember the spiders and being terrified from somebody reading it to me, not watching a movie, but it being read to me. So.
That's nice.
I'm very thankful to Terry because I think that he instilled in me a lot of the same things that my parents did about not taking things for granted and questioning, and that it's okay to question adults. If they say something, it doesn't mean it's the law, and ask questions and make sure you know what you're getting into. And it's gotten me into trouble in my life, but overall, I'm very grateful for it, and I've always had a love of literature and learning, and I've always had a respect for teachers, and that I can say that comes from being in room 1.
That's wonderful. Is there anything else you'd like to tell me about your experience?
Summer program.
Tell me.
The summer programs at Terry's house. I remember his wife teaching us Portuguese. I remember, I don't know how much we really learned, but I just remember her tying it into English. So she would bridge, yeah, this is, similar in this language and in this language. And I remember playing diplomacy. Mm-hmm. And I remember it being a place where my brother and I just felt extremely calm. And it was the first and the last time through my 12th grade year that I felt like a teacher really cared about me now and cares about where I'm going to go in the future. And I have never felt that sense. And for any student that hasn't felt that from a teacher, I just think that they're missing out on so much. And so I'm just thankful that they opened their home up because it was at their house, which is also amazing. And I remember not wanting to leave. They were like, okay, summer program's over. Do we have to go? Yeah, you probably should go home to your parents. So I'm just glad that all of this happened. I think it's indicative of what Sycamore was about at that time. And the fact that we all came back for a 5th grade reunion, I know a lot of people are astonished. And to me, it seems natural.
That was great.
It made possible so much that was exciting, interesting, challenging, fun about being in his class. And my favorite things were the place game. I love the place game. Writing this incredible report about the Ford Carter election. And also, just going out and playing recess with him. Terry, you created a community in which I think we all felt awesome. And we all trusted and related to each other in a really great way. And it just meant more than I think you knew at the time, which is why we've all gathered here to reconnect and to share. So thank you for opening your heart to us and helping us to all open our heart to each other, and for inspiring me really for the rest of my life. So, thank you. Thank you, Terry.
So Terry, if I can say once again, I thank you for your ability to instill in us that confidence to go and be that person who is that true self. And even in times when you may not seem as though that's who you are, you set a compass in us, as we talked about before, and I truly value that compass. Thank you.
Okay, Terry, all the other things, you're going to hear so many things and they're going to touch you, but we love you, and we've carried away from your class the ability and the muscle memory to love, and thank you.